got it. So as guys, part of that purpose is, man, don't just be here. Be valuable. Be valuable. Be that dad. And everybody in here, every guy in here has some person, and you can think of them, and it might have been your granddad, or it might have been your uncle, or it might have been somebody that lived in your neighborhood, but you know a man that was a difference maker. You know a guy, may not have been rich, most of the time they're not. You know, I was fortunate enough, I grew up in Hateville down by the airport where the first dwarf house was. And my whole life, Truett Cathy, the guy that founded Chick-fil-A, I knew Mr. Cathy my whole life. When we were little kids, Hateville was kind of the wrong side of the tracks. Every time Mr. Cathy'd see you, he'd reach in his pocket and give you a ticket to get a free Chick-fil-A. And it was like gold. You're like, oh, my free Chick-fil-A. I hosted his 90th birthday party, and he pulled me over to the side. He goes, I appreciate you doing this. He reached in his pocket. And I'm like, Mr. Cathy, I can buy one now. It's okay. It's good. But this was in the days when there was one Chick-fil-A, and my mother used to tell me, she said, people have no idea what that family does. Now, this is when they only had one store. She said, you'd be shocked to know how many people Mr. and Mrs. Cathy have put through college, kids that couldn't afford to go to college. And I'm like, really? From that one little store? Well, you know Chick-fil-A now. I mean, they've given away hundreds of millions of dollars. Just crazy. But that stuck with me as a little kid. And man, the way I grew up, I didn't think I'd ever be able to put my own kids through college. But when I had extra money, I followed his lead, and I put kids through college that couldn't go to college because of this example of this one man. So be valuable. Be valuable in your family. Be that. Oh, I'll get you to, yes, he beat you by like that. It was so close.
I'm curious, so it sounds, frankly, you've always kind of got to be on, especially with the role, and you're always on the show. And I feel like a lot of guys here also always have to kind of be on, and think they have to be on. What are ways, have you ever, first off, kind of fallen to fall into the mold of the comedian? And what are ways that you haven't, and you kind of stay true to yourself?
You know, it's a good question about being on. I mean, because I think as guys, we create, it's very hard for us to be authentic because we create this work guy and this hangout guy. I mean, for me, one of the things I learned about myself, it's like in the mid-90s, I had a sitcom and we filmed between Seinfeld and Roseanne. And at the time, Roseanne, well, they were either number one and number two. Sometimes it was Seinfeld, sometimes it was Roseanne. But at the time, Roseanne was making $1 million an episode, which was $1 million every 5 days. And the world will tell you, world lies to you about everything. World will tell you, hey, fame and money are the things that are going to make you happy. Well, here was a woman that had the number one TV show and was making $1 million every 5 days, and she was absolutely miserable. In the parking lots, throwing things at people, screaming at people, getting mad and going home. And so for me, I was like, well, the world lied to me. The world lied, and I'm so glad I got to see this. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to live there. I didn't like doing a sitcom, but so when NBC invited us not to return for the fall schedule, it was kind of freeing to me because I knew where I could be more authentic and I didn't have to be that pretend guy. So I moved my family back here. I was like, I like being a comic because I can say what I want to say in the way I want to say it, not have to read somebody else's words. But I think it's really, yes, sir, green shirt.
Has your faith conflicted with your career?
Has my faith conflicted with you? Yeah, I mean, it's not real popular in LA to be the Christian guy, you know. But you know, the weird part is you would think that people that wouldn't like me because of it, I don't stand on a, you know, if I'm working on a TV show or whatever, I don't preach to people. I just like try to be kind to people and nice to people. And so, you know, I don't know, 3 or 4 times during the course of doing 5th grade, or a lighting guy or a sound guy or somebody would come over and go, you're different. Why do you handle things different than everybody else? And I'm like, well, if you really want to know, we'll have lunch. I'll tell you, but yeah, I mean, To me, so much of show business, it's not real. Even stand-up comedy is not real. If I do it right, it looks like, hey, I just thought this up. Is this funny? But I've spent hours and days and weeks working on this and honing it down to the right word. Jay Leno told me in 1984 when I first went on stage, he goes, your goal should be to write 1 new minute a week. 1 new minute a week for a comic. And I thought, are you crazy? I can write 30 minutes a week. But he was right. Even in those years when I was doing 500 shows, on my best years, I could write a new hour of material. Something that was going to make people laugh every time you said it. And so when I do my job right, it's no different than David Copperfield making you think that he made the car disappear. I'm making you think, hey, I just thought of this. But it's not real. None of it is real. And so that's why I live here. That's why I always just wanted to have a regular life. That's why I'm here, yeah.
So what is your take on being a servant leader? How do you feel that changes or gives you a different perspective?
Okay.
As you've had highs and lows, would you mind sharing kind of the lower moments of your journey over the last 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah, one of the lower moments. I'm lucky as a comic because I think the guy I am on stage is real close to the guy that I am off stage. It's not like Pee Wee Herman having to put on the makeup and do the... And, because my dad left early, it's like I have a brother that's like almost 6 years younger than me, and I have a younger sister. So like at the age of 10, I kind of became like a dad. I mean, he's my brother, but I'm also like his dad, and I had to take care of my mom. So from a very young age, I was a caretaker. And I always did my business, and it's show business. Everybody likes the show part of it, but like when you're on the road doing comedy clubs, they put you up in a hotel or a comedy condo, and so most of the guys that I worked with were getting drunk or high every night and chasing waitresses, and that's what they did. And there was a lot of funny people that went by the wayside, but I would go back and I would write, and I would, it's like, okay, I got to do the bit. If I'm going to get good at this, I got to do the business. So I always had a good work ethic, and in that, I always, even when I was having success, I was taking care of people. I was taking care of my in-laws. I was taking care of my mom. I was taking care of my special needs uncle. And about 3 years ago, I had 2 discs blow out in my neck, and it's like I lost all the feeling in my left arm. I was in horrible pain. I ended up having neck fusion. I spent 6 months in a recliner. Couldn't sleep in a bed, lost 20-something pounds. And so I got really depressed because I thought, is this going to be the rest of my life? That's the guy that's always going and always. And I went to talk to a Christian counselor about it. I'm like, dude, I'm depressed. And he said, well, tell me your story. And I got to tell him my story. And he said, well, here's the thing. He said, this is your identity. Your whole life, your identity has been the guy that is dependable, the guy that's going to fly home and take his kids to school, the guy that's going to take care of his mom, and you're a caretaker. He said, your whole identity was taking care of everybody, and now you can't take care of yourself, and now you're not one bit dependable. Because my wife would say at noon, hey, can we go to dinner with so-and-so? And I said, sure. And by 4 o'clock that afternoon, my arm, I'm in tons of pain, and I'm like, I can't leave the house, I can't go. So I was totally undependable. And so it really, for me, in that low, I don't want to go through that again, because I don't know if anybody's been through like serious pain. It sucks. It'll make you crazy. But spiritually, it was like one of the coolest, because it was almost like God going, look, you've created, again, this identity, this outer image, that's who you think you are, the caretaker and the dependable guy, but you're not. So it's okay to be the caretaker, and it's okay not to be the caretaker. It's okay to be dependable. It's okay because I don't love you any less. I just love you. I just love you. I just love you. So you don't have to be identified by that. Just be identified as being my kid. So spiritually, physically it was a suck time. Spiritually, it was an awesome time. because it was kind of the name of this thing, Purpose on Tap, because as a comedian, when I sit down and write jokes, I just think, what do we have in common? What do we have in common? Well, as guys, I mean, I think that's what we have in common is every one of us like, why am I here? What is the reason that I'm here? Now, the Bible tells you that you're here is to glorify God. And when I was young, I was like, what does that mean? Just all day long, just praising God. It's not. You glorify God with what you do with this life. And you don't have but one, and I'm telling you, it goes fast. Any of these older guys will tell you, it goes fast. A minute ago, I was your age. A minute ago. In my mind, I can still smell what shoulder pads smell like. You know that locker room stink, that sweat stink? I can smell it. A minute ago, I was playing high school football, and I'm 59 years old. I'm like, how the heck did that happen? But when you go back to where we're at now, you're like, why am I here? What is my purpose? I'm going to tell you this, you don't get a practice lap. You don't get to go around the track a couple of times and figure out what it's about and go, okay, this time I'm going to do it right. You got one lap. And so you got to be wise and have a purpose. Like I was trying to think, if I could tell you anything, and it's the hardest lesson in life to learn for a guy. Let go. As guys, we want to be in control. And the truth of the matter is, you're not in control of anything. You're not in control of your next breath. You're not in control of the way other people think or feel or act. You're not in control. And the sooner that sinks into you, then life starts being free. It's like dropping a 100-pound bag of sand off your shoulder. You know, when I was running through that pissed off period, if somebody would cut me off in traffic, man, I'd be that far off their bumper, and I'm giving them the salute and screaming and yelling. And I don't know what happened, but at some point in my life, they cut in, and I'm like, whatever. Good. You get there 15 seconds before I do. But it was freeing. And I thought, man, the benefit of this is for me. I'd let somebody cut me off in traffic, jack up my whole morning. It's like, no, I'm going to let go. And when I was young, I used to be frustrated by the mystery of God. It's like, okay, if I'm not in control and He's in control, that frustrates me. I want to know the answer to everything. But knowing the answer to everything, think about if you're driving and you're out in the desert and that road is just stretched out 100 miles in front of you and you can see everything for 100 miles and it's just flat. Isn't that boring? Isn't that boring?